Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Today I'm taking a look at the Aoyi Mech LS13 Interstellar Star Knight, also known as the oversized KO version of the Bumblebee movie Optimus Prime. Aoyi Mech also goes by the Black Mamba brand outside of Asia, so I'll be using these two names interchangeably through the video. Without further ado, let's dive right in and check out what this figure is all about. Looking at Optimus Prime out of his packaging and standing him up in his robot mode, you can see that this guy definitely didn't skip chest and shoulder day. It seems that Black Mamba was trying to go for a movie accurate look but chose to simplify some parts of the design, which has resulted in the figure having a blockier and chunkier look about him. You can see the differences in the chest and the shoulder proportions when compared to the official Bumblebee movie Optimus Prime concept art, and I would also say that the shade of red that Black Mamba have used is just slightty too bright. Taking some measurements for Optimus, we can see that he comes in at about 30 centimeters in height and weighs in at about 790 grams, which is a very solid weight for a figure of his size, and that's driven by the high quality of plastic as well as the die-cast metal that's incorporated into his frame. Comparing this figure with the official Studio Series Bumblebee movie Optimus Prime, you can see just how much additional detail Black Mamba have been able to squeeze into the figure, and turning to the back, also you can take a look at how much better they've been able to do the kibble management. Black Mamba have also made a design choice to move the bulk of the paneling used for Optimus's transformation from his forearm to his shoulders, which is an overall improvement over the official Voyager class figure, which has very bulky paneling on his forearms. Starting from the head, you can really appreciate how much detail Black Mamba have been able to pack into Optimus's head sculpt, especially around his mouthpiece and helmet. They also include an alternate head sculpt of the box with slightly different positioning for the eyes as well as different detail for the mouthpiece, which you can swap in, but I chose not to. His eyes light up if you push a button located at the back of his head, and batteries are installed off the box. It's just a bit of a shame that there's only one single LED, so it looks like the light is coming from the center of the head instead of behind each pupil. His chest panels are on a double hinge, and they swing open to reveal a matrix chamber housing what I think is the tiniest matrix of leadership I've ever seen on a figure of this size. I really appreciate the amount of detail that Black Mamba have put on Optimus's abdominal area in terms of the exposed circuitry, as well as the forearm area where you can see a lot of intricate piping. I also appreciate the fact that he has fully articulated fingers. From the back, you can see where Black Mamba have chosen to conceal a lot of the panels needed for the transformation, especially around the shoulders as well as his backpack, which is kept quite streamlined and flat, albeit with a more squarish and blocky appearance compared to his movie counterpart due to the fact that that part folds out to become the front of the cab. Focusing on the legs, we continue to see a lot of great detail, especially around the inner thigh area where certain parts have been picked out in a very nice gold or metallic silver paint. If this figure has one Achilles heel, it's that the feet are connected by the ankle to the rest of the leg by a plastic strip that runs down the length of the leg. Compared to the rest of the figure, it feels insanely wobbly, and I have no idea why Black Mamba chose this design. Overall articulation is good but not great. The head can turn left and right and look up but not down. The shoulders are on rather tight and nice ratchet joints that can rotate the full 360 degrees. You also get a nice bicep swivel, followed by a 90-degree bend at the elbow. The forearm also has a hidden swivel that's part of the transformation. You also get a unobstructed waist swivel, and another issue I noticed was that the back of his waist doesn't tap into anything, and while that can give you a bit of a fake ab crunch, it also presents a tendency for his upper torso to fall forward during poses, which is definitely annoying. Ratchet joints at the side allowing for a full split, full rotation of the thigh, friction joints at the knee allowing for just over a 90-degree bend, as well as an ankle pivot. In terms of accessories, what you get out of the box is pretty basic. You have an Energy X which has two blades cast from clear orange plastic and which light up with dual LEDs by pressing the grey button located on the hilt. You also get Optimus's trusty Iron Blaster which also lights up by pressing a round button located at the butt of the gun. While I do appreciate the light up effects, I feel that the X and Blaster both feel very plasticky and maybe could have benefited from having some areas picked out in a metallic or different color. Posing the weapons in Optimus's hands is actually quite straightforward thanks to grooves in his articulated hands that you can just tap the weapons into. He can strike a good number of poses both standing and kneeling, as long as you're not relying on his ankles too much. Optimus's transformation into his vehicle mode was one that I found to be of normal difficulty and really enjoyable, and that's thanks to how solid the plastic and metal parts used in this figure are. I didn't feel like I was going to break or crack anything, with the exception of the ankle which requires a bit of finessing. First, you want to set Optimus standing up and straighten his limbs, taking care to close his fists as shown. Then what you wanted to do is to raise his arms sideways up as far as they can go and pull the shoulder joints away from the body at the same time so that they click out. Turning to the back of the figure, you then want to disengage the entire backpack portion from the rest of Optimus's body, revealing the wheels as shown. You'll then need to split the two halves of the backpack and give yourself enough clearance to open the side panels and flip them 180 degrees around like shown. Then you'll want to rotate the two small pieces on top of the front grille towards you so that they sit flush with the rest of the section. Lastly, just proceed to fold the two halves of the backpack section back together again. Next, you'll want to pull the wheels out towards you and fold them out, click them into place on both sides. Turning our attention to the front of the figure, you now want to pull apart the chest panels and bring the entire head assembly detached downward and extend it as far as you can. This will give you enough clearance to turn the entire upper torso section 180 degrees to the back of the figure. Unfold this metallic piece and then bring the entire red section over where Optimus's head used to be, tabbing into place, and then pull out the metallic pieces on either side of it. With that done, you can then proceed to pull the entire torso backward and place it horizontally in its truck orientation. Don't be worried if it looks a bit messy, we are going to tidy it up. First you want to close up the chest panels again and then turn your attention to the back of the truck. Bring the die-cast metal piece connected to Optimus's head back up and tab into place, placing Optimus's head down. And what I would do also here is to turn his head sideways so that you don't accidentally trigger the LED button. Then you'll want to unfold the panels connected to Optimus's shoulder, flatten them out, and form the side panels of the front cap. One of these panels is connected to Optimus's forearms, so you'll need to untab it and then just take his forearm and rotate it 90 degrees towards you. Do the same on the other side, unfolding the panels from Optimus's shoulder and flattening them out. Don't forget to fold out also the panel that sits on his forearm and twist it 90 degrees towards you. So you should have arrived at something that looks like this, and the next step will be to conceal the arms under the cap section. First you want to bend the entire forearm 90 degrees forward, then take the entire shoulder assembly and shift it down in line with the cap section, twist the fists so that they face up, and then move the entire shoulder section inwards towards the cap. This will also give you just enough clearance to move the entire forearm and the fists inward under the cap section. And finally you want to rotate the entire panel section so that it covers the rest of the arm. unfold and tab in this little piece on top of the cap so that it sits flush with the rest of the section. And then you can focus on tabbing in and cleaning up the side of the cap. Just repeating the same steps on the other side, pushing the shoulder assembly in, folding the front panels down, moving the arms under the cap section and closing the panels, tabbing everything in, and lastly ensuring that this piece above is sitting flush with the cap. With the front section, you want to ensure that the two tabs at the top are pushed underneath the windscreen, and then align the tabs on either side of the windscreen, push them in, and do the same on the tabs on either side of the grille. And once again, just giving the entire cap section a good squeeze so that the pieces and the panels sit very nicely flush with each other. Using your fingernail, you can just pull out the mirrors on either side of the cap, and this is where I would tidy up the panels a little bit more so that it looks something like this. Now we're ready to move on to transforming the lower half of Optimus's body. First you'll want to split the legs as far wide as you can, then using a part separator or a fingernail, disengage this portion of his leg from the rest of the leg assembly. Rotate this blue and grey piece counterclockwise, then bring the metallic part of his inner thigh down and over that piece. Lastly, uncover the front of his thigh and bring that silver piece down over the inner thigh piece. Flip the figure around, and on the back you just want to pull down this piece over the exposed circuitry over Optimus's cuff and turn this silver piece upwards. Push out the fuel tank at the back of his thigh and then rotate it so that it sits flush with the piece in the front. This will allow you to move the entire cuff section upwards into the cavity which the fuel tank used to be in, and then using the tab on the side of the fuel tank you can connect those two pieces together. Pull out this silver and gold plated metallic section from behind the ankle and move it inward under the feet. The next part of the transformation is the hardest step. You'll need to flatten out the foot, and then while holding on to the plastic strip it's connected to, rotate it against its hinge and then inward so that it sits flush against the plastic strip. This should give you something that looks like this, and the next step is just to repeat everything on the other leg. As I've mentioned before, I really don't like that Black Mamba made the decision to connect the foot to a bendy piece of plastic that's hidden as part of the leg assembly. It makes me question the longevity of repeated transformation of this section, but so far I haven't encountered any issues, which is great. Black Mamba have chosen to incorporate Optimus's Iron Blaster into his transformation, so what you want to do is to fold the magazine as well as the handle of the rifle and then turn the entire rifle upside down. There are two tabs across the bottom of the feet as well as the inner thigh where you can tab the rifle inward and then close up the entire portion of his legs, pushing in the rifle against the tabs on the other side. We're finally reaching the end of the transformation. You'll want to pull out these two metallic pieces, rotate them inwards, and then slide them in against the blue backing sections. The two metallic pieces have tabs that you can just connect together, and then turning our attention to the back of the cap, you can see tabs where you can plug in the two blue pieces on either side. And there you have it, we've successfully transformed Optimus into his alternate truck mode, and I have to say that he looks very nice and reminiscent of his G1 incarnation in this mode. I also like how Black Mamba have very smartly integrated his Iron Blaster into the back of the cap so that there aren't any unsightly gaps that can be seen. You can use a fingernail or a part separator to remove the Cybertronian hubcaps to expose the Earth mode tires hidden below. These tires are made of rubber and they help Optimus to roll along surfaces quite well, but one letdown is that with regards to the Energon X, Black Mamba haven't found a way to integrate it into the overall transformed vehicle mode, so I'll just slot it in like so. Overall, I really enjoyed this KO version of Bumblebee Movie Optimus Prime a lot. He fixes or improves many of the characteristics of the official Hasbro Voyager figure and delivers a solid build, high quality, level of detail, and articulation. His transformation is also really enjoyable to pull off, and you shouldn't encounter any issues with clearance or parts snapping off thanks to the overall high build quality. Unfortunately, the aforementioned heel joint as well as waist pivot really take the stability and posability of this figure down a notch. If you are highly particular about movie accuracy, then you may also be put off by this figure's overall color scheme and body proportions, which are just slightly off compared to how they appear in the official movie. Let me know what you think of this figure down in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.